Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry and Caleb here tonight. Boomer Caleb.
Boomer.
And Rob's not with us tonight. Rob forgot about a class he's been working on and taking. He forgot all about it. And so we made our schedule out for this week, and Rob called me today and said, hey, man, I got a class tonight. So he's not going to be with us, but Caleb's along with us. So remember right now, hit your subscribe button, follow, like, or whatever it is that you're listening to us on. We need subscribers, and it's always the easiest way to listen to us. And I'm not going to make Caleb say our slogan, but Sooner Football Fans is not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. But who we do have on with us, he's the sports editor for the OU Daily. He was on with us for a preseason show or a preseason podcast, and we asked him to come back on, and we're glad to have him. We got George Stoia from OU Daily. Boomer, George.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Fantastic, man. How are you doing?
Good, good.
I got a couple of questions for you first off before we get rolling into anything. Number one is, we talked about it in the preseason. You're the one you were the one who interviewed Lincoln Riley, and for some reason he felt compelled to tell you that he was for the Heisman statue with Baker to be planting the flag. Do you have any more news?
Right.
Do you have any more news? Is that a fact is there any hope that might be the statue, or have you heard anything?
It's funny because I know there was a rumor, like during the middle of the season, that there was going to be a Leroy Selman statue coming soon, and I actually can confirm that's not happening, at least right now, but that there's been talks of that. And when I confirmed that, I also confirmed that there's been very little talk of what Baker Mayfield's statue is going to look like and when it's going to come out, because I know there was a lot of people that wanted it to happen as early as this spring, and that's just not even feasible, apparently, from who I've talked to. And I do know that the statues are also completely built on donor money, so they have to find all the money from donors to do that, and I'm pretty sure those things are not cheap. So I think they're gonna. I don't really know. I would say it's a couple years before they even unveil it. So, and I also think I'm almost positive that every statue is up to the person that it's being of. So, like, if Baker wants it to be planting the flag, I'm pretty sure that he can make that happen.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty sure that could actually happen if that's what he wants it to be. Now, I don't know if Baker wants that to happen, and I also don't know. I mean, the university may be like, Baker, let's think about this twice here. So I don't really know, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be cool, if nothing else, if he was just carrying the flag. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that's what. And it's funny because, like, when people ask me that type of question, I'm like, honestly, it fits what he, is going to be most remembered for. One is, yes, everybody remembers, how great he was on the field and all those things, but a lot of people associate Baker Mayfield with those, the things that he was doing off the field or after games or, during the game, just pumping up the crowd. So to me, I feel like what would fit him best is at least him waving his arms at the crowd or something, because he was so passionate. That's what people are going to remember about Baker Mayfield 30 years from now. And of course, they'll remember the winning and stuff, but when you think of Baker, you think of just the passionate football player that he was.
Right. Yeah. The moxie, that he had.
Right.
And,
exactly.
and why I said the carrying the flag was because he used to do that before the games. He would grab the flag and run it to the end zone and wave it. And, he did it at the Rose Bowl. He did it, at almost every game I was ever at. So, I think that would be, but I was, a lot of people were saying, they thought that the spring game that it would be unveiled, but I think it takes longer than that to build the dang thing.
Still haven't seen Bob Stoops statue.
Yeah, so. No, it takes a while.
Yeah. So, I saw a thing on one of the news stations where the guy that is building the land run statues at the canal downtown that he's been doing that for years, and it's still not finished because he's still got other statues that he's not done with, and because it takes a long time to do them. And I didn't even think about it. It was donor money that well, I guess pretty much everything around the stadium is donor money, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's the thing about those type of projects is, at least from what I've heard, is that they don't like to obviously ask the university, who's struggling financially right now, to provide that kind of money, and then they definitely don't want to ask the athletes themselves to pay for their own statue. So all of it comes straight from out of boosters' pockets, I believe.
Yeah, even though, let's face it, Baker could probably pay for it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And Kyler now too.
Yeah, and Kyler could have paid for it last summer.
Kyler could get a baseball and football.
Yeah, that. But also the other thing, we kind of promoted you on Twitter. I think it was last week when you said you were entering the transfer portal. How did that go for you?
Yeah, I'm still looking. Still searching around. Still in the portal. That's where I'm live from the portal right now. So I'm still looking around.
Now that's a question I have. And you may not know it. I don't know who does. Is there an actual website, or is it that you can go see?
Yes. Yes. So the only way you can get access to the portal, I believe, is if you are an NCAA coach. Now I think there's different portals for different sports is the way it works. I'm not really sure if you're a basketball coach and you can see all the football players. I'm not really sure how that works, but yes, there's an actual website. I believe it's probably at ncaa.com.org or whatever that site is. There's a place that you can log in and look at everybody in the portal.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering if it was like a, kind of like the website you have now. It's just a regular website and you can see people, but they're really just, the coaches would have to log in to see anything special
right
about it. But it probably all we would be able to see is just a login page if we tried to go find it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. I've not even tried to go find the login page, but I believe that's what it is. And they give you some sort of access code, and then that's how you get in.
Oh, okay. So, so you're still there? You haven't had any takers, no contacts, anything like that?
I've had a lot of takers. I just haven't found the right fit for me.
Yeah, that's kind of like us here. We keep saying we still have eligibility left, and we ain't got a single call yet from any school or from Oklahoma. I got 4 years of eligibility. Of course, I'd be 56 years old when my senior year came around, but I still have eligibility. But it's always you never know. But
so if the coaches log in, how do people know who's in the portal? Then the coaches leak it out. Then the players.
Yeah, I think the way people have gotten in the portal, at least reporters, is somebody's given them an access code, probably coaches or administration, some sort of source has given them access to it. But it's technically only for coaches and, I believe, school administration. Okay. And so, the way people are getting in is somebody's given them some sort of access code to get in.
And, of course, every athlete announces it gets announced that they've entered the portal. And so I guess if a coach is interested, they go and look them up, and I'm guessing there's contact information or, inside email that they send or something to show interest. Now, with Jalen Hurts, do you know if it was an immediate interest? Obviously, it looks like he was only interested in 3 schools, but was it an immediate reach out? He reached out to Oklahoma, or Oklahoma reached out to him, or do we even know that?
I think it was an immediate interest. From what I've heard, I know his dad was immediately interested in Jalen going to Oklahoma, just because of Oklahoma's success with quarterbacks, and he knew his son would be a good fit there. And being a kid from Houston, he knows some of OU's players already, like CeeDee Lamb and guys like that. So I think it was an immediate interest from Jalen and also Oklahoma. Now, I don't know who reached out to who first. I just think it was an automatic, kind of a nod of, Oklahoma's going to be in there. They're going to be in the running. Now, as the official visit and coming down, I believe it was last Saturday.
Right.
I don't know how that came to fruition. I know, I believe it was just Jalen that came, and I know they went out to dinner, and Jalen was here for quite some time on Saturday, and then he was in Miami the next day. So, but no, I think from the very start, Jalen was somebody they were interested in. And I think that goes all the way back to the Orange Bowl. I know Lincoln said, it was yesterday, he said at his press conference on Sunday that, that it wasn't at the Orange Bowl, but I think even Lincoln knew by then a little bit, because, I mean, if you go back and watch Media Day coverage, I think he said something about how college football and teams need more people like Jalen Hurts, and I think that you look back at that now and you're like, okay, yeah, that was a pretty big indicator that he wanted a kid like Jalen. So now for Jalen, I have no idea when Oklahoma came on his radar. I'm sure it's been a while. I'm sure he's been thinking about it all season. And then I think obviously the other two choices, Maryland and Miami, were just, kind of, okay, well, I know both the guys that are going to be coaching there. I know what kind of offense I'm going to be able to have. And if you go to either of those schools, you're going to be the guy for sure.
Right.
And you come to Oklahoma, and he's still going to be the guy. I mean, at least it's assumed. But obviously, you have all these other stars and stuff. But if you go to Miami or Maryland, it's like you're the man on campus. No, I think it was an obvious choice. I mean, it's funny. You think you look back at all the national talking heads talking about this and that, but they all agreed on that Oklahoma makes the most sense. I mean, you look at the success they've had with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to go to Oklahoma? So and play for a guy like Lincoln Riley.
Right. And I said on today's podcast earlier with the guys from Benny and Buds I think that was Jalen's interest, not just to go to a team that can compete and everything else. You've got Lincoln Riley, who is fixing to put his second quarter, well, first off, back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners, but still throw that out the window. But he's put one guy in the NFL that everybody said couldn't play in the NFL that just won the Rookie of the Year, wasn't it the Associated Press Rookie of the Year?
The real one comes out next Saturday.
Yeah.
They announce it.
But,
yeah,
but he was too small, couldn't do it. Well, he's wowed everybody with the worst team in the history of pro football. And now you got another guy that was drafted with baseball, and everybody watched him play football this year, and now all the pro scouts are saying, well, he can play pro football too. And now he's going into the draft. Why wouldn't you want to come to Oklahoma? Hey, give me a year. If I'm Jalen, it'd be like, give me a year under Lincoln. Let me roll and see what I can do if he can get me into the
and
NFL.
Like one thing. Right, and like one thing you have to think about in all of this too, and I'm sure Jalen thought about this, is I'm sure he wants to go play, professional football after this.
Right.
And if you look at, the track record, like you said, Kyler's going to be a top 10 pick. Baker was number 1 overall. You sit in a year in Lincoln's system, he's at least going to make you look really good. So
right.
You're probably going to go make some money the next year and get drafted.
Right. And if Kyler ends up doing similar to what Baker did this year, in his first year as a pro, by the time the draft comes around, who's not, if he just has a year between Baker or almost as good as Baker or almost as good as Kyler, what NFL coach isn't going to take a chance on him if the last two quarterbacks to come out of Oklahoma, their rookie season, light it up? So I think that was the no-brainer on his part. And I'm glad we got him because, us fans sitting out here, we always hope for the best, but there's a lot of fans out there. The guy sitting across from me right now was not convinced that Austin Kendall was going to be able to do the job. Right, Caleb?
Yeah. I don't know. There was something about the guy. I wasn't sure what it was. Like, he played good when he was out there. I don't know what it was. Like, when Kyler was out there, I always felt there was something special with the guy, even behind Baker, but something about Austin Kendall for me. Just didn't know what it was. Just didn't click.
And I think a lot of fans were that way, but, everybody I think was going to get behind him. But I think this kind of brings a sigh of relief that, okay, we've got a proven quarterback. We got the number 1 quarterback, coming in out of high school, and then Mordecai is pretty doggone good himself. So now we got to, one of those 3 guys is going to start, and I think fans are a little more comfortable with that thought.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I think, you look at a guy like Austin Kendall, and I think he's a good quarterback. And, OU fans should be appreciative of him. He fell into an unlucky situation. I mean, no one would have guessed Baker Mayfield would do what he did. No one would have guessed that he would have got that extra year. No one would have guessed Kyler Murray would come back after being the number 9 overall pick and be the Heisman Trophy winner. It's kind of crazy what happened in Austin Kendall's career. And then, of course, they're able to bring in a guy like Jalen Hurts in the year that Austin's supposed to be the starter. So it's unfortunate for Austin, but I think it's a great situation for OU because you get a guy in Jalen that is not only talented, but he has a lot of experience, and not just winning conference championships, but leading teams to national championships and playing in a national championship. Of course, he got benched the year he won it, but it's still impressive nonetheless that he was able to lead a team that far. So he can become, the first Lincoln Riley quarterback to ever win a national championship. So I think it's going to be a fun year. I'm certainly lucky that I've gotten to cover Baker for a year, and now Kyler, and now Jalen Hurts. I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's one of the most anticipated springs that I've ever seen in Oklahoma football. So it's going to be fun.
And this has, let's just face it, this one Jalen Hurts coming has already vaulted Oklahoma when people were already saying Oklahoma is, probably not going to be in it next year. They got a lot of question marks at quarterback, defense, yada, 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 yada. They're right back into people going, well, they're going to be back in the playoffs again next year. Nationally, people are
definitely, saying, I think they can win the national championship.
Yeah.
I really do. I think with a guy like Jalen, and you put those type of weapons around him, and, I know people are concerned about the offensive line, and maybe that's something we're going to get into later, but I think they're going to be, by the end of the year, just as good as they were this year. I really do. I think the guys that they have, in that locker room are really, really talented. Those guys are not slouches. Of course, they don't have the experience that they had this last year, but those guys are talented. And then you throw in that they may actually be able to play defense next year. I would watch out. If Oklahoma can learn to play defense, they're going to be really darn good.
Right. Now, we've already been talking about the quarterbacks, and I wanted to bring up again, if you guys aren't reading George's stuff out on OU Daily, he does a really good job. And I don't have the date on this in front of me. I printed it out, but you did an article right after the season ended. And
I wrote that in the airport.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So you didn't want to write about the loss, so you went, I'm going to give people stuff to look forward to. But let's start off on offense, and I got to call you out. You completely missed the quarterback situation. Okay, so because you told us you said to watch out for Georgia transfer Justin Fields. Of course, Alabama still had a game to play. So when you're right, so we'll overlook that one. But I don't think anybody saw this coming. The Jalen Hurts. There,
I laughed when it first came out. So
I said, at the Big 12 championship, Jalen Hurts to OU. So
Caleb actually did. I forgot about that.
I was like, I think Jalen Hurts is going to go because if we got
we need to go to Vegas with Caleb.
Yeah, he was talking about it. He was like, he's not going to play next year. He's a graduate transfer. He won't have to sit out. And all of us were telling him to put the beer bottle down, and
he said it'd be cool, but it's probably going to happen.
So, but running back. What do we have in store for running back this year? We got Trey, and we got Kennedy Brooks. And Kennedy Brooks, I think everybody needs to remember, wasn't he number 5 on the depth chart at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, it's funny. Kennedy, a funny story about Kennedy. Well, I was a counselor for Camp Crimson, which is the orientation camp for OU,
right?
When kids come to camp. And I actually did the athlete one 2 years ago when Kennedy was a freshman. So I was one of the first people Kennedy ever met. So I know Kennedy really well. And I could tell he's an intelligent kid. And so I was just waiting for him to get his opportunity because I knew he'd do so well. The funny thing about Kennedy, and I think everybody talks about this, is the way he runs, it looks like he's not even trying hard.
I know,
but he's so fast. It's ridiculous. He doesn't even, he's fast, but he doesn't look fast, if that makes sense. He breaks away, and you're like, well, how are they not catching him?
Right.
And I don't know if that's just the way his body is built, And I thought, I mean, he had a great year, obviously. I think he rushed for over 1,000 yards.
Oh, yeah.
And at times, he looked like their best back. Kennedy's big thing, he's got to put on some weight. I think he needs to, get in the weight room. And I'm sure he will, this summer. That's really going to help him become a better, pass blocker, because that's a lot of reasons why Trey Sermon's in there. Is one, he's got better hands out of the backfield, and two, he's just a great blocker in that backfield. So I think Kennedy and Trey next year being a 1-2 punch is going to be great. Now, of course, you have to have a third guy and even a fourth guy, because if you lose someone like this year when they lost Rodney Anderson, you had to have guys step up. And I think that's going to be, obviously, TJ Pledger is the first name that, comes up. But I also think, and I don't want to botch his first name, but the JUCO running back that's coming in, his last name's Stevenson, and I don't want to botch his first name. I think it's like Ramondre or something like that. The only reason I bring him up, and I haven't watched too much film on him, is those JUCO guys usually play their butts off. You look at Marcellus Sutton. Losing Marcellus Sutton this last year, I think, was huge. I think he could have ended up helping this team a little bit down the stretch, especially when Kennedy and Trey were so banged up towards the end of the year. I would not be shocked if he sees the field, just because those kids come in and they're usually a step ahead of the high school kids that come in, and they play really hard because they know this is their one shot. So I wouldn't be shocked if he gets to see the field a little bit. Obviously, TJ Pledger. And then Marcus Majors, I've just heard great things about him. I believe he's a 3-star, obviously, in-state kid. I don't think we're going to see him much. I'm sure he'll redshirt. He might play his 4 games or whatever. But I don't think we'll see too much of him. But I wouldn't be shocked, again, if guys go down like this year, losing 2 running backs in Rodney and Marcellus. You never know. But they should be fine at that position, especially having 2 veteran guys now in Trey Sermon and Kennedy. I'm sure Sermon will be the day 1 starter. But I wouldn't be shocked if Kennedy kind of takes over that role, because, as you guys know too, Sermon's really good when you get to the fourth quarter, and he just needs to run the clock out.
Right.
And so if you can have him fresh going into the second half, that's better for OU.
One of the interesting things about Kennedy was this year, it was the Iowa State game, and he got clocked. I mean, he got hit, and we're watching the game here at the house, and Caleb actually asked, "Geez, is he dead?" Because he wasn't moving. He didn't move, and they came out there and they got up. And he wasn't out but for a couple of series and came back in. And I can't remember if it was Lincoln's press conference, or because we always go to his deal at the coach's show out at Rudy's barbecue.
Oh, right.
And somebody, I don't know if a reporter asked it or if a fan asked there, how is he? What happened? And Lincoln just basically said he'd never been hit that hard. It scared him. He said it rattled him so much, and he was just kind of in shock. You're talking about Kennedy, right? Yeah.
Well, it's because if you go back and watch his high school tape, I mean, the dude was just running free.
Yeah.
It was like he's putting up ridiculous numbers because he would just break through the hole and he's gone.
Yeah.
It's so like he's never been hit in his life.
Yeah. And that's
I'm sure that was an adjustment.
Yeah, that's what Lane said. He hadn't been hit that hard. Yeah, it rattled him. He was, he was hurt, or nicked up. But the reason why, because it was ugly looking. I mean, he laid there and didn't move, for a little bit, and he said it just rattled him. He had never been hit like that, and he was just getting his bearings. But he goes, yeah, he was fine. Got him out. He didn't have a concussion or anything like that, and he was fine. But I just thought that was interesting. I'd never heard a coach say, well, he stayed on the ground because he'd never been hit like that before. So, it was kind of interesting. But let's move to wide receivers, which, good Lord, I mean,
talk about stacked. I mean, it's not even fair.
Yeah, Rambo just comes out of really nowhere. The last, the Alabama game and even the Texas game. With Hollywood being down, and of course CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb just balled out in the Orange Bowl. I feel bad for him. He played so good in that game. For them to lose that game, I just felt that dude put it all out on the line that game.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb should be in the Biletnikoff talk to start the year. I would think, especially with that performance in the Orange Bowl. But it's funny you mentioned Rambo. I went on the radio. I think it was the day before or 2 days before. They're like, give us a player that you think could stand out in this game? I was like, well, Charleston Rambo, and everybody was like, you're crazy, and I was like, I don't think Marquise is going to be 100%. And Charleston Rambo, he played a lot when Marquise went down in that Texas game, and of course he comes in and catches that big touchdown pass.
Yeah.
So maybe I should go to Vegas, but
or you and Caleb together just make it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, you have those two guys. Obviously, they're going to return. You know, people forget Lee Morris is coming back next year, and I know Lee Morris is not the most, I guess, sexy name. People just, but he scores. I mean, what the hell? He gets in the end zone. He's not the quickest guy, but he catches the ball. I can't remember a time Lee Morris dropped a pass. But then obviously I have to mention the three guys coming in: Theo Weese, Trajan Bridges, and Jaden Hazelwood. And I expect all three to see the field. I don't think. I mean, maybe one of them will redshirt because I mean, there's only so many footballs to go around. But I honestly wouldn't think so because I think Trajan is going to return kicks. I think he's a special teams guy, and that's where he's going to contribute the most, at least next year. And then you have, Jaden Hazelwood, who can just absolutely fly and has unbelievable hands. You can put him outside, and you could also probably play. I mean, all three guys could play in the slot or outside. So that's just ridiculous. But I expect all three of those guys to see some time in offense next year.
Hazelwood's the bigger of the three, isn't he?
Yes,
because he can jump out of the stadium if he needed to. That kid can jump. I know. I watched the Army game. Army All-American or whatever it's called.
All-American game. Yeah.
And that one touchdown where he went up and picked it out of the corner's hands. The corner went up and he was above him and pulled it out of the top of his hand. So it's one of those deals. I'll probably get more confident as the season goes on, just like I did, or as the season gets closer. But I got to a point to where, looking at Oklahoma's offense this past year, and I'll probably feel the same way again this year, is you might be able to put me out there with a football and just throw it in the area of those guys and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent we've got at the running back, at the wide receiver, and now again at the quarterback. And, we got Kyle Katera coming in at tight end, Austin Stogner coming in. You put in your article about Braden Willis. I know he played a little bit. I don't know what it is about that guy, but I just watched film of him in high school last year. I like that kid, Braden Willis. I think he's going to
play.
I think you're going to see him a lot.
Yeah, and the thing about Calcaterra is, a lot of times he was never hand in the dirt type blocking guy. Braden Willis is a guy that can put his hand in the dirt and he can also fly. And so I think he's going to play quite a bit. And I think he's also a guy that could put in almost in that fullback position if they really wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can also play quarterback if he needed to because, he played quarterback his senior year because their quarterback went down. So, and then we go to fullback, which is really something we haven't talked about the last couple of years, or last year and this year. But I know Kobe Tillman, I've seen his stuff on Twitter. I think that's a big old kid right there. And he was a preferred walk-on, which I'm not sure what that means, but I know we had several of them this year. What do you know what that means? What's a preferred walk-on? Is that?
Yeah, it just means that they don't so regular walk-ons typically have to try out or try and get onto the team. Preferred walk-ons mean that, hey, we can't offer you a scholarship, but we really want you on the team. So like Drake Stoops. And that also means they get to go through two-a-days in the summer.
Okay.
Or I think spring. I can't remember. Two-a-days, whenever two-a-days are, they get to go to both practices. Regular walk-ons don't go to both. So, for example, Drake Stoops is a preferred walk-on. Connor McGinnis, who holds the ball, all those guys are preferred walk-ons. And then you have regular walk-ons, which is like Joe Castiglione Jr. is a regular walk-on.
Okay.
Nick Basquin was a preferred walk-on.
Okay, but Kobe Tillman is a big old boy. He just he looks like somebody who just likes to hit somebody.
I mean, he's your regular old Oklahoman boy. He's going to hit the hell out of you. He's going to block, and he's going to do the dirty work. And he was a good football player, Bixby. I saw him play live a couple times, and he can play. So I would not be shocked at all if he gets some time at that fullback position because Jeremiah Hall is a good player, but he's not as big, and he's not as physical. He's quicker, obviously, and has great hands. But when they get in a goal line situation, I wouldn't be shocked to see Tillman down there. He reminds me of like Ripkowski. He's exactly like Ripkowski.
Yeah, and Ripkowski, he's still playing for the Packers, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's a good football player.
Yeah. And then, of course, I guess the offensive line is where all Sooner fans are saying, or we have belief in Coach Biedenbow, and he will do us right, even though we lost 4 out of 5 of them. That guy is amazing. I've said it before. They need to screen all of his phone calls and put somebody with him at all points in time, so nobody will hire this guy. I mean, we could go through names, but the offense, what Biedenbow does with the offensive line, and I know all of them try to do this, all of them do, but he has got a knack of putting maybe not the best tackle out there or the best guard out there, but the best 5 guys that work better together. You know what I mean? He may have a monster tackle, but he's got 2 guards, a center, and a tackle that communicate, and they do everything right. And this guy just isn't gelling with them.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He's going to put the guy out there that gels with them.
Right. He does a great job during the season too of helping them mesh. Because if you look through the past, a lot of times at the beginning of the year, the talent's clear, like you can see it, but they're just not meshing. And then throughout the season, and usually around the Texas game is when it happens. They all of a sudden come together and they're just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the season, it's just ridiculous. So I expect that to happen again this year. I think they're actually more talented than they've ever been up front. It's just going to take time, and OU fans need to be patient with that. They just have to let Biedenbow work his magic. And luckily for OU, if I can remember right, they really don't have that tough of a test until they go to Dallas for the Red River rivalry. So they should be fine. Obviously, going on the road to UCLA, I don't really know what to expect. I'm sure, the crowd will show up, but I just don't know how good that team's going to be.
I don't know even about that. There may be more Sooner fans at that game than there are UCLA fans, because we got to know a podcaster out there that is a fan, like we are, has a fan, and we actually did a podcast that week, and I talked to him. The fans out there aren't happy. It's just kind of it's not clicking the way that people thought it would, and including myself, I thought it would be they would at least look decent last year. I don't think UCLA looked good at all last year.
Right.
So, and that game's the 3rd game of the season, I think, because we've got Houston, one of the Dakotas.
South Dakota.
Yeah, South Dakota.
I think.
Yeah, and then UCLA. So.
Right. Yeah, again, I mean, they're not going to have any tough tests until they go to Dallas, I don't think. So, OU fans just need to be patient with that group. Watch out for, Bray Walker, I think is going to be a stud. Adrian Ely, Darrell Simpson. I can't remember who else I mentioned in that. I think at the guards, I said Marquise Hayes and Tyrese Robinson. I would expect those two, at least Marquise Hayes, to be a starter next year.
Right. And as far as the defense, I think we can just wipe everything off the chalkboard as far as defensive wise and what we can expect, because were you at the press conference yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, first off, it's odd that they had it on Sunday. Well, I guess they probably did it because of the holiday, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's why. I think they wanted to have it on Friday, but then things came up, and I don't know. Roy Manning didn't get into town until actually Sunday morning, so maybe that's why.
Okay.
But yeah, I was there yesterday, and it was impressive. I'm not going to lie; those 3 guys were really, really impressive.
Well, I watched pretty much. I watched pretty much all of Grinch, because that's more of what I was concerned about. Was if you see a guy with that type of attitude and that type of what seemed like desire, what he's bringing in. I was really happy that when they hired him. I still say that I think Oklahoma fans would have been happy if Oklahoma would have hired just about anybody, but they got really excited about Grinch. But, I thought and which probably inherently happened was they needed a clean slate all the way across that defensive staff, because that defensive staff was just as unsuccessful as our defense. So it to me, it just made sense. And, there was a lot of talk going around that, but a lot of times, Lincoln is going to probably looks like Lincoln's doing things like what Bob used to do, was like, hey, you might want to go look for a job. You're not fired, but if anybody offers you anything, you might go ahead and take it. Kind of seems like, because go ahead.
And I think you hit it right on the head. And I do think it's interesting. I will say, I always thought Calvin Thibodeau was going to stay because he's only been here 2 years. He's obviously played here, and then he's also done a really good job recruiting.
Right.
That defensive line has slowly gotten better since he's arrived. So I think he did a good job, and I think he deserved to stay. As for the rest of them, I think it was time for a lot of them to go, and I think a lot of them knew that. Obviously, Kerry Cooks takes the job at Texas Tech, which is, I think was a good move on both ends, just because you don't have to publicly fire him, but I think everybody has an understanding if he was asked to find a new job. And then Tim Kish, I think no matter how the season would have gone, I think Tim Kish was leaning towards retirement.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good move. Ruffin surprises me a little bit. I thought when the season ended and kind of how it was going that he would maybe step down or take an analyst role. But again, you have to look at it from all sides here, and I think the reason he's staying on is, Lincoln owes basically his entire career to Ruffin letting him take over that Texas Tech offense for the bowl game and then take it into East Carolina. So I understand that from that perspective. Yeah. And I also think, by giving him the outside linebackers title, I don't know how much he's actually going to coach the outside linebackers. And again, I have no information on this, but I would just assume that with Roy Manning's background of coaching linebackers, that he's going to be kind of helping and putting his hand over there a little bit as well, as Grinch kind of takes over the secondary as a whole.
Yeah, and
that's what I would guess.
And I think with him as well is I think the players like him, and it may be it may be, I don't want to say morale, but it may be a deal where that regardless of who Lincoln put in the DC, that the Ruffin's going to back him, Ruffin's going to be there, and the kids are going to, they're going to see Ruffin there. You know what I mean? They have that respect, because it seemed like when Mike got fired or quit, whatever happened, the players kind of leaned on that, their respect for him. And I obviously, right. And I'll say it now, I've said it back then, he wasn't the guy for the job, obviously, but
right.
I was concerned that was going to happen at the end of the season, and I just didn't think he
that would have been bad.
Yeah, but
is Diaco gone too?
Is Diaco gone?
Yeah, so the Diaco situation is interesting because he's no longer on StoiaSports.com, and I've also confirmed he's no longer with the program. So he's definitely gone. I don't know where he's going. I just know he will not be coaching at Oklahoma next year. I think the Diaco situation was very interesting, and I think they had no one else, obviously, to fill in, so they just brought him in.
Yeah.
And he was just an analyst to start, and then I think he just finished off the season. And he probably got the same nod that Kerry Cooks and those others got, was like, hey, you should be looking for another job.
Yeah. Well, I've said all along, I think he was brought in, the analyst job was to maybe help, it's just my opinion, as a fan, to kind of maybe keep Mike in check. Somebody who could, say, no, Mike, X, no, Mike, Y, that type of thing.
Right.
I don't know why, but I mean, I just felt like it was just odd that they hired a defensive analyst,
I also think part of it played into, I think Lincoln had a feeling that, hey, if this thing goes real bad, having a guy like Diaco that has experience being a defensive coordinator, he could step in and help out.
Right.
And my theory is that when Mike Stoops was fired, yes, Ruffin McNeil was named the defensive coordinator, but I think Jocko had his hand in a lot of the play calling and schemes that they were running.
Yeah. I think he would have had to, because I know some fans saw it, but I think which game was it, Caleb? That it was an away game, and they showed Ruffin in the press box, and it looked like he was asleep.
Yeah, it was the Texas game after he called the corner blitz.
Yeah,
everybody's like, "Man, Ruffin McNeil's stone faced," and I was like, "I think Ruffin McNeil doesn't know what's happened." I think that's what that is.
I think Ruffin just had a sleep apnea event, is what happened.
Who's going to be our kicker next year?
Yeah, that's a great point, Caleb. I don't think anybody's talked about a kicker.
It'll be Reeves Munsker. Again, I don't want to botch his last name, but something Reeves Munsker will be the punter, and then I believe a kid named Gabe, and then again I don't want to botch his last name. All these guys have crazy last names.
Kickers,
something with an R. Gabe R will be the kickoff guy most likely, and the field goal kicker.
Is he going to have
definitely Reeves as the punter?
Is it going to be like anything close to Seibert, or is it somewhat similar at all?
Punting wise, yes. The punter I thought should have been the starter. Okay. I think Seibert had that role just because he's been so experienced, and he was really a really good punter. But Reeves was really, really good, and I thought he should have been the starter. He was only I think a freshman last year, maybe a redshirt freshman, and so he doesn't have a lot of experience. But he'll be really good punting. As for kicking, I honestly have no idea. Obviously, Seibert was money a lot of times, except for against Army. So I think it's going to be tough, especially to replace him on the kickoffs. Because he was, I mean, people forget it. People took that for granted that he was just kicking the ball through the end zone.
I didn't, because every time he did kick out of the end zone, they returned it 40 yards on us.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's either a touchback or his 40-yard return. It's 1 and 2.
Yeah, and Seibert, he was money, but it seemed like he was money except when it was really needed. Never in like a game-winning situation did he fail us, but it was just like, okay, but like the Army game. This is a chip shot.
Right.
But in the back of my mind, sitting in the stands, and I know Caleb was watching it on TV, it was just like, oh my God, he's gonna miss this. This is one that this is the type that he misses. Not, I don't think he ever missed a game winner or one that cost us a game, but that wouldn't, that kick would.
Yeah, he's lucky they won in overtime.
Yeah.
People would see. I mean, that's how he would have been remembered at Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. It seemed like the ones that he should make on routine that we really needed him to make, he didn't make. You know what I mean? It never cost us a game, but it was just like, ugh. And every time he came out on the field in that situation, I just, maybe that's my, maybe it's not Seibert, maybe it's just me and my feeling of kickers. But, I'm way too old school. You got one job. You sit out there 2.5 hours a day kicking the ball. You should never miss one. I know it's not realistic, but it's how I feel. So, but I do think he'll be missed, like you guys said, on the kickoff.
Yeah. One last question, because I know you got to go here pretty soon. The spring game, what do you think we should watch for the most? The quarterback, the offensive line, the defense, receivers? Which ones of those do you think we have to put our eyes on the most?
Whoever's performing. Who's going to be the singer this year? They're going to bring back Trace Atkins. I don't know. I think obviously everybody's going to watch Jalen Hurts, which will be intriguing. Everybody's going to want to watch the receivers. But I'm going to watch. I want to see what they do at linebacker. But that to me, obviously, I think everybody knows the offense is going to be successful. But when I look at this team, the secondary will be interesting to see how they kind of move guys around, see if Buki moves back to corner. But I want to see what they're going to do with Kenneth Murray, because as much as OU fans, I believe, kind of get mad at Kenneth Murray, and rightfully so at times, he's still playing out of position. And I think Grinch is going to realize that. I think he's going to move. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. And then you have guys like Caleb Kelly, who's been in the system and just can't find a spot. And then you have a Deshaun White, who I think is just super talented and should be their starting middle linebacker. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they play all those different linebackers and where they play.
Well, and I like what Grinch said yesterday. I mean, the timeline is yesterday. I mean, it's we don't have time to fiddle fart around. We're an elite team. We need to build an elite defense. And it seems like if he didn't learn anything from, we know he didn't learn anything defensively from Mike Leach, okay? But if he learned with coaching with Mike Leach and I think he even said it yesterday to a point is, with an elite offense like what Oklahoma has and is going to continue to have, our job is to give them the ball back as quickly as we can. Just don't screw it up. You know what I mean? Just if it means a 3 and out, a 6 and out, whatever whatever it is, 7, whatever it has to be, whether it's a turnover or anything else, give them the ball back. They're the ones that are going to score. I said it all year long. Oklahoma needs to get 5 stops a game and hold people under 28 points. 4 stops a game and hold people under 28 points. That's all you got to do. And if you give any defensive coordinator in the world that instructions, they should be able to do it. And I don't know, and I haven't talked to anybody that could tell you what was wrong with Oklahoma's defense this past year. It just didn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was coaching.
I think a lot of it has to do with effort.
Yeah, I mean, I do
think
too.
A lot of it had. And that's a point of emphasis with Grinch and both of his assistants that he's brought on, is they're going to play hard and they're going to run to the football and they're going to try to get the football back to the offense. So I think that's a great sign for Oklahoma fans.
Yeah, and I got blasted on Twitter one day, for people arguing the points, and that's fine. That's what we do on Twitter, and it's fun to do that type of stuff. But everybody was like, they need to teach these kids how to tackle. And I'm like, and this was when Stoops was still there, Mike was still there. And I was like, I guarantee you Mike Stoops or nobody on this staff has taught one of these kids to throw a shoulder into somebody to try to knock them down. They are not teaching that at the University of Oklahoma or anywhere else. But our team was just, and I've always said it, tackling is not coaching. Tackling is a player effort. You are taught fundamentally from the time you're little bitty, and if you go and you ever get to watch the drills they do at OU, these guys are taught to shoulder in, head to the side, head up, wrap it up. And if you watch the Alabama-Clemson game and you watch Clemson's defense, man, they not only did they swarm to the ball, but if there was one guy that got a hold of a Alabama player, he brought him down. He may slide down his body, but he never bounced off of him. He would slide down and hook the feet, And I'm with you. Effort. I think a lot of it was effort. Hopefully, I said it before, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again next week, that whatever they can do defensively right now as far as working with the kids is, I hope it has to do with them big giant red donuts that they roll out that the guys tackle. I hope that's all they're doing, because that, and I think Grinch brings that mentality, like you said. He wants an aggressive attack style defense, and if your mindset is that, part of that is the tackling aspect of it. So, but do you got anything? I know you got to go, but do you got anything you want to share with the listeners or anything? That
no, just hit me up on Twitter, George Stoia. STOIA. That's where you can find most of my work. I tweet out most of my stories. Or just go to OUdaily.com. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And so, just hit me up on Twitter, ask me questions. I'm usually available if I'm not in class. So, but thanks for having me on, guys.
You bet. And guys, like I said, make sure and read his stuff. It's great stuff. I read it all the time. And but we appreciate everybody listening. Boomer Caleb.
Boomer.
And Boomer George. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to download every episode as they come out. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube. Boomer Sooner.